Here's step one of the Kenwood DDX593 install. What I had to do is connect the harness that the radio came with a couple adapter harnesses, and I matched all the wires up using butt splices. These blue butt splices. Used a couple caps, some post taps, these blue ones, to where I could tap them. I used one of those. But basically all you do, here's one adapter for the subwoofer out. This is the 12 volt to 5 volt reduction for Fords with an amplifier and aftermarket radio. Keeps it from popping when you turn it on. So I had to cap this one to the amplifier on switch of the adapter that plugs into the radio side. And I connected it to the factory adapter for my factory switch, so I could plug in my subwoofer to the RCA input on the back of the Kenwood. Used a cap for that. Everything else is pretty self-explanatory. It's your chassis ground. You just go to each color, black to black. And this one I did have to tap into for the 12 volt to 5 volt reduction. So that taps into the chassis. Red to red, green to green, yellow to yellow. You just go down on what you need. I have a wiring harness chart here that Crutchfield sent me that tells you exactly what each wire does. It makes it really easy. So all you have to do is splice those wires in and get them ready for your installation. These two ends are the adapters for my vehicle, and they will plug into my factory plugs that are currently in the car. This end will plug into the radio. This will plug into the subwoofer. My car has premium sound. It has a built-in factory 8-inch subwoofer, and I plan on still using that. I may swap that out later, taking this one step at a time. I'm going to go ahead and clean this up, get these zip tied together, and I'll show you the final result of the wiring kit. So here's the final harness. I just put a couple zip ties on there. It's not very pretty, but it keeps some of the wires intact. Like I said, these two wires will plug into the factory, and then this will plug into the subwoofer of this. So it'll be like this. The subwoofer will plug in, this will plug into the radio, and then these will be plugged into the factory. So I just zip tied it, that way if there's any connection problem, just cut it off, redo it. I'm not going to tape it up, make a big mess trying to electrical tape it. And got these little caps. This wire's not used, so I just put a cap on it. But that's it. Next step is disassembly of the dashboard and put the aftermarket mounting kit on the radio for installation. I'll show you that later. This is the interior of my Ford Expedition. It's a 2003 Eddie Bauer. Has the premium sound radio, 6-disc changer, 8-inch subwoofer in the rear, 5x7 speakers in the door panels that I plan on changing after I do this part. According to the instructions and everything I've seen online, I have to remove these two 7mm bolts. You can see these two holes here. There's two bolts there. I have to put the shifter all the way to first gear, put the emergency brake on, disconnect the negative lead of the battery terminal, and then I can begin taking off the dash assembly. Start by prying here, get this worked off. It all just snaps in. and work from here. There's some connections to my AC unit that I'll have to unplug. There's some connections here and here that will need to be unplugged, and there's some connections here that will be you need to unplug. Once you get that off, you could work it around. It's around the steering wheel there. This whole piece here comes off. I'm not going to film it because it's going to be a big pain to try to film, but at least you know what to do. You start prying here, get this off, and then slowly work your way over there, and it should pop right off. Once that's off, I'll film and show how the radio's connected so you can see how to remove that. Update on dash removal. Came out really easy. Loosen those two 7mm bolts. These connections came out pretty easy. The only one that was really tough was this one here. I had to have my wife press that button while I pulled it out. I just couldn't get that button pressed deep enough while pulling it out in the confined space. So you may need some help with that one. Everything else came out easy. So this is how it's connected here. We got bolts, and I'm going to pull the radio out, hook up the mounting kit. I'll show you the mounting kit on the new radio once I get it installed, and I'll put it in and give it a shot here. Okay, this is what it looks like without the radio. Kind of confused me. The adapter just has connections for this one and this one. This one's going to be obsolete. It's not going to be used anymore. Had to call and verify on that. Another thing that was kind of odd, this glide post here holds the factory radio, and the mounting kit contained a post to glide on that. However, there is nowhere to mount it on the head unit. I called Crutchfield, and they said because these radios are so light now, you don't need it. So this has the mounting plate. This is where the screws are going to screw in down here, and just fasten that on each side. 3 screws. 3 screws. Got to plug all this stuff in. The green wire is going to go to the brake. I'll have to wire and tuck it in somewhere. I'll have to figure out where I want to put the USB, and then just plug everything in and get it in. I'll show you how it looks once I get it plugged in. Okay, this is the most awkward place to get into. Right there is a light green wire with a red stripe that I need to splice into with those posts for the brake. The green wire on the radio. I have to splice this wire in there using the post taps. It was a pain in the neck to get that. I'm just too wide to fit in there to get under there to screw it, but I was able to manage. Here's the radio mounted. I just stuck the USB through the glove box for now. I was going to take out the lighter, but I couldn't get it out, so I'll just leave it in the glove box. I'm going to put the mic on the steering wheel up there. Just got to get everything situated, tied down, and put everything back together and test it out. Okay, there it is. Damn green brake wire. Got it in there. Ran it across there. Can't see it. Okay, here's the final product. Got it in. I'd say I wasted the most amount of time trying to get the cigarette lighter out to put my USB. I finally gave up. I actually spent more time on that than I did taking the whole radio apart. The biggest pain in the ass was getting that post tap in for the brake line, because I could just barely fit. I'm 6'2", 200 pounds, and I had to squeeze in between the seat and underneath the steering wheel to be able to get that thing on. And it was a big pain in the ass, but I got it on. Everything else came off. This dash comes off really easy. I mounted the microphone right there. It just goes right back. And it's tied in here. Just zip tied it. But so far everything seems to be good. I have to go through the setup on this radio. I'm just glad everything's working and it got sound. So the next step will be changing out the speakers and all the door panels. And if I feel really gung-ho, I may swap out the subwoofer for the factory enclosure. So that's it. That's the Kenwood install. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you learned something. If you've got an Eddie Bauer Expedition or just an Expedition looking to put a doubled in aftermarket head unit in.